First thing I questioned wasn't her body, it was her feet. And somehow no one was talking about them. I'm Margaret, and in this series, What's Actually Wrong with This Horse, we are actually going to dive into what I see as a body worker with an osteopathic lens and how we work through cases like this. The last episode, I gave you a little bit of background about this particular horse and what's going on with her and her backstory. So if you missed that, go ahead and go check that out. I'm going to link that here for you. But let's just move forward. So, like, the first thing I noticed when I evaluated this horse, which I do movement assessment as well as hands on assessment and postural assessment by just looking. And so, like, the first thing I noticed is this mare's feet. They weren't matching in the front at all. Like, first of all, she has a high heel on the right and a low heel on the left. And when I asked about this, which is what I do, I don't just assume that, someone's doing a bad job or this is being neglected. I'm just asking, like, what's going on with her feet? What can you tell me about her feet? Did the farrier know anything about her feet? What do you know? And when I asked those questions, what I got was, yeah, she has a club foot, and that's why her feet are the way they are. I don't like that answer. I mean, club feet are absolutely a problem, but that's not like I then ask, okay, do you have x-rays that show the severity of the club foot? No, they didn't haven't gotten x-rays in like 4 years. And, my concern with this is that just because we have a clubfoot doesn't mean that we shouldn't be addressing it and trying to create as much balance and stability and symmetry as possible for the horse. So that was kind of a red flag for me. And, the other thing that I noticed is that the shapes of them are just different. Like the clubfoot is more narrow and the low foot, the clubfoot is more narrow and the lower foot is more like a pancake. And so noticing those things kind of sent me down the path of asking the questions and being like, okay, so if you don't have x-rays, can we get some x-rays? And in the past they'd only x-rayed the front feet. Well, the problem with that is that the back feet are just as likely to be contributing to or causing a lot of the problems that this mare is having. Again, when they called me out, they weren't listing off symptoms, just that she's always a little marish, that she's always a little cranky, and they just want to make sure that she's comfortable as she continues to compete this season. And what I found was that she's really, really sore. And so when I saw her feet, I knew that that was a contributing factor. So we talked about getting x-rays of all 4 feet and the importance of that because the feet influence everything above them. They are literally the foundation of the body. I'm sure you've probably heard the phrase no feet no horse, right? It's true. And very much like the feet can influence the body, but the body also influences the feet. And that is what I believe was happening with this mare. So, you know, having conversations with your farrier and also getting imaging to make sure that the bony structures within the feet are aligned is really, really important. So because something felt off to me, because something looked off to me, I, wasn't going to accept the label of this is a clubfoot and this is just what we're dealing with. Absolutely not. We need to understand what we're dealing with, see it from all angles, and then see what we can do about it, right? So I did ask, like, when does the farrier last see her? How often is her trim cycle? Is the farrier working off x-rays, which was a no, and things like that. Like, I ask all the questions. And then it was always about being conversational, right? It's not because I assume that somebody's not doing their job. It's because I don't know what's going on and I need to understand it to be able to do my job, right? So when we didn't have answers to explain what was going on or justification for why the feet were being left in the state that they were in, I knew that we needed to get some answers, right? So we absolutely got the imaging. We absolutely talked to the farrier. We decided that a different farrier would probably be best to move forward in the level of correction that we were going to be needing. And quite frankly, the farrier that was working on her just really wasn't interested in doing all of this correction that we were talking about. So, because of all of that, I knew that, with that missing information, we were just collecting all of that information and waiting to see how things move forward. So, at this point, that was just one step, right? That's just one step in the evaluation process. That's just one thing that people were missing that was influencing absolutely everything in her body. So, um, you know, In the next episode, I think what we're going to delve into a little bit more is how this impacted her body, how we ended up there, but also what the next step was. Because if I, like I mentioned a little bit in the first episode, this is a really in-depth case, and this is so common. If we try and go through it all, it'll take us quite a bit of time, and it'll be overwhelming. I have no doubt it will be overwhelming to see it all at once. So next episode, let's talk about the pattern that this feet created, or the feet problem created in her body, or her body created in her feet, and also what else was contributing to this pattern. So I will catch you next time, and until then, get out there and do some fun pony shit.